cold open. I've been in the city too long. It's been over 3 months. And nothing good happens when I stay in the city too long. How long is too long? I don't know. 3 months is too long. Or 3 months is 2.5 months. 2.5 months is long. 3 months is too long. I need to go to the desert. When I stay in the city too long, I just start fighting everyone. You know, just like kind old shopkeepers. I just start taking a swing at them. Why? I've been in the city too long. It's always how I am. Long before TLC. There's just too much wild in me. You know, I used to think that I got red hair from being Irish. And my hair's not nearly as red as it used to be. I guess it's more like copper these days. I thought it was like, oh, like I'm Irish. Irish people have red hair. And like that's true, but it's like more complicated than that. Because why do the Irish have red hair? It's funny, I only learned this semi-recently because I really liked the TV show The Last Kingdom. And I was like, man, all these Viking barbarians have red hair. That's weird. And then I realized that Ireland has red hair because Viking barbarians have red hair. I was like, oh, I'm Irish, but I'm also a barbarian. Huh. And then one day I was listening to a Dan Carlin podcast. This was long before I watched Last Kingdom, but the Dan Carlin podcast clicked way back in there, that subconscious space. Because in one of his old podcasts, he talks about the Scythians, which were these barbaric horse people, and they had red hair. I went, oh, I'm a barbarian. And that's okay. But I gotta live in the desert. I like coming to the city. You know, it's nice to do trade. It's nice to see the city folk, but I don't belong in the city. Not for too long. I've been in the city too long. You know, there's things in the desert you can do that you can't do in the city. You can see the horizon a little clearer in the desert. There's lots more things to fight in the desert. There's just all kinds of monsters out in the desert, and somebody's got to fight the monsters. And now, you know, I'm not taking swings at shopkeepers. I'm just, you know, taking swings at monsters. The wild thing about, like, ships and being a ship captain is, like, the ship can fly to the desert, you know? There's a nice dock in the city. It's very clean. It's very pristine. There's even some, like, maintenance that happens. It's nice. There's utility to that. But we can do this from the desert. We can do this from the wild place. So we need to start doing this from the wild place. Good morning, Rob. Phoenicians. Did the Phoenicians have red hair? Yeah, okay, see? More barbarians and barbarians who like to spell. And I've won quite a few spelling bees in my day. I almost became a champion, but the same girl, every single year, the same girl beat me, and she got to go to the championship, and I had to stay at regionals. I just wanted to go to D.C. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to go to D.C. But the same girl, the bane of my existence. Thanks for bringing up that traumatic memory, Rob. All right. Last week on the ETHAN CAUGHEY Show. No, I screwed it up already. Last week on Exploring the ETHAN CAUGHEY Show, hosted by Pattern by Design, part of the TLC VNA network. Okay, so last week on the ETHAN CAUGHEY Show, there were quite a few things that happened, actually. We have some breaking news. Okay, I'll just do this real quick. I'll be real quick. Just give me 1 sec. I got to do this real quick. I'll be real quick. Okay, I was real quick. It's done. Yeah, the sea peoples. I'm a sea person. I'm just meant to be a pirate, you know. Like I have the nose ring, you know. Here's the thing: I have the nose ring. There are two options. I'm either a liberal lunatic who should be on a watch list, or I'm a postmodern pirate. So you know, take your pick. Okay, so we had some breaking news. So we needed to share this screen in order to play this. Oh goodness, this is so much harder than it seems. Nope. Yeah. Okay, screen is shared. Add a stage. Okay, Rob, I need you. If there's no audio, you have to tell me. Okay, this is some breaking news.
It's called the Denim Deuce.
The Denim Deuce.
We got to start a denim dinner Discord, the DDD.
And it's called Deuce Your Denim. I don't know why that's funny. Anyway.
This time we'll do it right, regardless of whether Chad's wearing. Never mind. I'm not going to say things I know about that denim dinner.
I don't know anything besides about denim dinner.
No.
Did Grim drive up here last time?
Yes, Grim was there. Other people were there. But the denim dinner was the event that actually got me out of the lurk. Because, this was like summer of 2023. And I was listening. I was starting to be more aware of the people beyond PvK. And Chad was one of those people. And I was listening to Chad a lot. And the more I listen to Chad, the more I'm like, I think I could be friends with this guy. Like, and I like, and then he announced the denim dinner, and I'm like, fuck, Chad does not know who I am, so I can't come to this dinner because I was in the lurk. And that's genuinely like the thought that I had in my head is like he didn't. And then I'm like, no. And then Chad said like, I'm gonna do randos after, and I'm like, I'm not missing this opportunity. Like I'm gonna rando. Chad's gonna get my story. And then the first time we talked, he can attest to this. But the first time I talked, like the most awkward friend ever. I'm like, I think we're meant to be like best friends. The very first time we talked, and Chad has danced around the best friend question since I've known him. He's like, but it's okay. I don't give a fuck because I know what's in a man's heart. Sorry, I'll stop cursing on the Friday.
There's been a lot of breaking news here, Chad. Do you want to break some more news?
Yeah, I mean, no, what else? We had, so CW was there. And then, so our friend Sam.
There.
Yep, Mark was there. Laura was there with her husband. And then Sam from Seattle was there. And that was awesome. So, like, and then, I guess it became Neil's best friend.
You heard it here first, folks. Neil is Chad's best friend. That's not all of the breaking news that happened on the... Are you making poop jokes? It's 4:46 a.m. and you're making poop jokes. That's not all of the breaking news that happened on the Ethan Caugghey Show. There is more breaking news to cover. It's strange. The Ethan Caugghey Show started last week. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was an accident. And then I got peer pressured into never stopping. So now we're never going to stop. Can't stop, won't stop, don't know how to stop. And we're just breaking news left and right. So, we're going to do this one. Another piece of breaking news. As you can see here, tiny tabs. Oh, tiny tabs. It's kind of painful. At the 34:28 mark, at McMosav says, this is how every live stream feels. TBH. I assume that is in reference to entertaining and being a dancing monkey. But then McMosav says, McMo will be back. ... Co-fi helps. The McMosav Ko-fi is live. It's not hard to find. If I remember to put it in the comments, I'm going to put it in the comments because Ko-fi helps. And whatever helps the return of McMo, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And if that means I spend, 60 seconds just shilling for the McMosav Ko-fi, then I'll do it because it's breaking news. Everyone thought he was gone. They thought he was never going to come back. They thought he was just going to remain an underground DJ for the rest of his days. But, everybody's got a story arc. And sometimes underground DJs, they moonlight as returners. And the return of McMosav is not upon us. Do not expect it to be around the corner. But when it happens, it will be around the corner. It's just not around the corner that is this month or next month. It's around the corner that we live in digitally. So, yeah, that's all of the breaking news. But this tab needs to stay open because there's other things that need to happen on this tab. So let's move on to our next segment. Let me swipe out of the Daily Office and swipe into this weird little app I downloaded to do this. We're going to do this one first. Let's see if this works. I don't know if it will, but we're going to try. All right, if you couldn't hear that, that's a troll of the week. So there's two candidates from last week to be the troll of the week. One of them... Wait, there's more breaking news. Shoulder Shift says, other things need to happen on this tab. Breaking news. One of the trolls is with us in studio today. That is none other than Rob. Rob is a great troll. Trolls hard. Rob might troll harder than anybody else. And you could think, how could Rob not win Troll of the Week? I mean, Rob is like the candidate to win Troll of the Week. I don't think Rob's going to win. I mean, maybe next week. It's hard to say. I don't know what's going to happen, between now and next week. But there's another troll around these parts. And this troll, well, I'll just say it. This troll is a former moderator, and there's a little broken piece of my heart that this troll had to lose a wrench, but that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you have to lose a wrench to gain a wrench. And everybody's got a story arc, this troll story arc, I think this is the winner. Sorry, Rob. You didn't win. The winner of Troll of the Week is none other than William Branch at McMosav. That Branch comment is crazy. Wrench removal was the right move. He's been getting away with the things for far too long. Congratulations, Mr. Branch. You are the Troll of the Week. One more segment, then we'll get the show started. That's right. The co-host of the week. There's two, well, technically there's a few candidates. The candidates would be Grim or Olsen from last Tuesday, or Teo or Sartori from last Thursday. Now, there was a Friday stream, but the Friday stream didn't really have a co-host. It was kind of one of the more like classic OG style TLC streams where people just kind of showed up and then left and then showed up and then left and then showed up and then left. It was very strange. So we're going to narrow it down to Grimm or Olsen or Teo or Sartori. And Olsen is here right now. Unfortunately, Olsen, you did not win, but you could win. There's a lot of weeks to come, and there's a lot of co-hosts of the week, so your time is still yet to shine. So I'm going to remove Olsen. And, Sartori barely got to talk because I just kind of bullied him and made fun of him. But I love Sartori. And although, honestly, I think Teo made fun of him more than I did. That's what happens when you show up and you're the third man, right? You're just like the odd man out. So Sartori, I'm sorry, this week it's not your week. So we have Grimm or Teo. We have a tie right now. Olsen votes Teo and Jeff votes Grimm. And what is this? Grimm was great too. So it's 2 votes Grimm. That's 1 vote Teo. Grimm told this really funny story where he had this dream and he was like hiking through the desert, which is where I'm going, to the desert. And in the desert, there was a gas station. That's just a little postmodern oasis on the horizon. And PBK was standing there with a shotgun, and Grimm was hiking through the desert to get there. And he had his dog Kayfabe with him. And then Kayfabe had the cats strapped over like saddlebags. And that story made me chuckle a lot. But it's got to be Teo. It's got to be Teo. Teo wins the co-host of the week. All right, so that was everything from last week on exploring the ETHAN CAUGHEY Show, hosted by Pattern by Design, part of the TLC VNA network. Now for the show. So we're going to get to watching the Vanderklay Vervaeke video, which we've been watching for 2 shows now. This is the 3rd show watching the same video. We'll see how far we get. Currently, there's nobody in the airlock, which means we might actually get through some of the show. But some of that show, I made an offhanded comment that I'm not going to say it kicked up dust, but it did inspire a very long Luke Thompson comment that then turned into a Luke Thompson post, which then became a topic of conversation for an hour or 2, from what I can tell. So let's do that first. Luke Thompson, this little corner of the internet, what is it? What is it doing? At ETHAN CAUGHEY, at Paul Vanderklay, at Jonathan Pajot, at John Vervaeke. Oh, I need my glasses for this one. Okay. Luke Thompson does a loose quote of me at 39:40 and says, "Strange for me to watch. Pajot and Vervaeke are no longer in the TLC." I don't remember saying that they were no longer in the TLC. I might have said that. I say things I don't remember. I do remember saying it was strange for me to watch, and the strangeness, which we're going to get to watching because we have time. There's still time left. The strangeness was just to see, like, currently when I see Vervaeke, it's like he comes from far away, and to see the closeness of Vervaeke and Vanderklay, like, it was lovely. It was like very heartwarming, but it was still like a strange kind of like Hallmark movie where I was like, this is how this whole thing started. It's so interesting to like watch it, not just like hear about it, but like see the old history, to be in the archives. And the reason we're in the archives is because of thislittlecorner.net, which it doesn't yet have a link to McMo's Ko-Fi, but if we shout loud enough, maybe we can get a link to McMo's Ko-Fi on thislittlecorner.net. Who knows? Okay, and now Luke Thompson continues. The winner of co-host of the week is in the house. Teo himself. Teo, you won co-host of the week. You beat out Grimm. It's kind of incredible. Good work, my friend. Good work. Okay, Luke Thompson's comment. Yep, IMO, in my opinion, There are status rocket people and people who are looking for a platform to get IDK, I don't know, money, status, fame, recognition, influence, etc. And there are people who are not looking for that, regular people with other jobs who are not looking to leverage any of this for the above. Then there are people who are a little of each. I tend to get uncomfortable by people who are more so in the first than the second, and I'm okay with the third. I think I commented that I'm in the third. But the center of the TLC IMO, in my opinion, is the people. So if you leave the people for what? Money or influence or other higher status people, you're more fundamentally playing the Christian YouTube parenthetical information in the mechanistic capitalism end parenthetical game more so than playing the people making game, at least seems to me. Edit. Not accusing Vervaeke or Pajot or anyone of this. People can do what they want to do. And honestly, the TLC wasn't really the same thing back then. It was more of a IDW, intellectual dark web light then. The randos are the heart of the TLC. Speaking of randos, I swear I just saw, oh, here, Olsen has offered to rando Rob. Will Rob accept? Everyone's got a story arc. Back to Luke Thompson. The randos are the heart of the TLC and not content or information or lower levels of identity. It took us a while to suss that out. Actually using social media to be social, not for clicks or leverage or whatever. Legit virtual and meet space, hospitality and conversation. Vervaeke's vision and Pajot's goals have always been a little different. Somewhere, Pajot said explicitly that he's not trying to build a community. He's more trying to make various forms of media to ... teach. Vervaeke is more of a teacher, too. Kind of like that? I liked it. Oh, and then I clarified. I said, none of the views expressed on the Ethan Caugghey Show, except for the camera view of Ethan the human, are the views of Ethan Caugghey. The Ethan Caugghey Show is a train passing through time, many views, many sights, many sounds, all just glimpses. P.S. Dear Pajot, please don't cancel my Symbolic World ticket because of Luke Thompson. I don't even know the guy. That last thing is funny because someday we'll have to explore the Symbolic World. Right now we're exploring Vanderklay and Vervaeke, and we're already on day 3 of that. And it could take 10 days. I don't know. But we're going to have to explore the Symbolic World because if we do that, we might discover an entire social media ecosystem inside the Symbolic World. And there's lots of community that it's not on YouTube community. They built a city. They built a whole city inside of the Symbolic World. And they have their own social media, and it's kind of wild. And yes, I signed up. I'm in there. Every once in a while you might find me in the Symbolic World just leaving wild TLC like comments, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's from TLC. Somebody please wrench him. Somebody please wrench that crazy Ethan Caugghey guy from TLC. We can't have him in our Symbolic World city." But hopefully they won't cancel my ticket because I'm really excited to go to Symbolic World. Oh no, I clicked out of that tab. How do I get back to that tab? Oh, shoot. Oh, what up, Scott? Wait, Teo's not... Teo, you're not even an admin? Okay, we got to fix that. We got to fix that. I mean, you win Coach the week. That's the fastest way to win an admin. Admin. It's probably a really bad idea to make everyone managing moderators, but that's... Have we not gone through the liturgy over the last week? What's the liturgy and what's the last week? Okay, I got to go back to that Luke Thompson post. The return of Luke Thompson is imminent, far more imminent than the return of McMo. Okay. If I'm going to search for him, I have to search White Stone name, all is one word. Otherwise, it'll never come up. Okay, and then I got to go posts, Luke Thompson posts, and recently Luke Thompson has been requesting, what are your Mount Rushmore randos? There's only one comment. So if you go to Luke Thompson and post, you can tell Luke Thompson, what's your favorite rando? Also, if you hear this here and you don't comment the Ethan Caugghey rando, your wrench will be removed. I really love that I can just incentivize things or de-incentivize with wrenches. Not that anybody cares. It's just fun. I like the wrench game. You know, it's like, the wrench game. It's great. I love it so much. Okay, so there was the Luke Thompson post. Now we just got back from the shower. What did I miss? We're still with Luke Thompson. I don't know. Did you leave when we were with Luke Thompson? Oh my goodness. We're almost halfway and we're barely into the show. This is a disaster. Okay, share the screen. Oh, there he is. There he is. The formerly wrenched winner of Troll of the Week. Branch, I gotta let you know, you won Troll of the Week. You beat out Rob, and I'm creating this whole story arc where you were a noble moderator, and now your wrench has been stolen, and so now you're the Troll of the Week, and someday you're gonna return to having a wrench. But I'm gonna work this story really hard. So I just need you to help me out, and the part you got to play is the disgruntled former moderator, currently Troll of the Week. Okay, so share screen. Share it, add a screen, and ogre, like a parfait. Yep, you get it. You get it more than I get it. Okay, so we got a PVK comment on the Luke Thompson post about the Ethan Caugghey Show. So PVK says, I'm curious about Skank's comment, which we'll get to. Luke is again to blame for luring us into Signal chats. At the same time, there are things I'll say in a Signal chat I won't say on an open YouTube, and for good reason. I think the deepening of the relationships is important, but it does lessen the availability of people for new relationship because they spend more time in the behind the wall chat. I think the departure of Pajot and Vervaeke is mostly interest, churn, and their own projects. Okay, well, now where is the skink comment? It's here. Apparently, Gray made a similar comment to my comment that none of the views expressed on the Ethan Caugghey Show, except for the camera view of Ethan the Human, are the views of Ethan Caugghey, because Skank commented on that and said, Gray made a similar comment recently. TLC feels catatonic right now. To be clear, I didn't say that. I've never said TLC feels catatonic. TLC is more alive than ever because we have a former moderator turned disgruntled ogre just running the streets of TLC, and somebody needs to stop him. TLC feels catatonic right now because most of the guys we made content from have all started hiding behind the paywall. We may have to start reading again if this keeps up. And then we have a very interesting comment from Ezra G.O. that says, I was curious because it seems widespread in Gen X. Even Tarantino and Roger Avery took their podcast behind the paywall. Here's the thing, folks. I'm a millennial. I'm never go behind the paywall. You won't be able to get me behind it. You couldn't pay me to go behind the paywall. I know what happens behind the paywall. The death of creativity happens behind the paywall. I know. I said it. But I just rock and roll forever. Rock and roll forever. You couldn't pay me to go behind a paywall. I hope someone clips that and turns that into just a forever thing so that when I go behind the paywall, then I can play out my character arc of being a hypocrite, because I'm excited for that. But I'm never going to go behind the paywall, so I'll never be a hypocrite. I kind of like the theory that hypocrite, what it means the most is play actor. And it's you almost need to be a hypocrite in the terms of you need to know what your role is and play your role out and show up to the stage. That's a longer theory, and then I did a really poor job describing it. Okay, well, nobody's in the airlock, so we're going to get started with the reason that I'm here, which is to watch old videos. So let's share. Oh, no, I got one more thing. Shoot, I got the orange note. Okay, we have 22 minutes, which is actually, that's a decent amount of time, and there's nobody in the airlock, which means we're just going to sit and watch. It's going to be great. So I've recently joined, oh, I can't see myself. I need to see myself. I'm too vain to not see myself. The coffee's still really hot. I recently joined the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency. I don't know if you know about it, but it's this thing where you join the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency, and then you say things on the internet that are foolishly transparent. I need to lose 50 pounds. Yeah, I got 50 pounds that's not supposed to be here. So, yeah, I need to lose 50, probably 50. It's the third time I've had to lose the 50 pounds. I've lost it twice, and then it came back. Well, it was there, and then I lost it, then it came back, then I lost it, then it came back. Now it's here. And, yeah, I mean, I promise to be more foolishly transparent in the future because I've joined the Sacred Order of the Foolish Transparency. But, yeah, that was the first thing I wanted you to know is that I'm 50 pounds overweight, and I'm not happy about it. You're so vain, you think this stream is about you. The other thing is I heard this really interesting thing from one of my desert brothers. My desert brother was talking about Christian identity, and he thinks that there are 3 markers of what it means to be a Christian. The 3 things you have to like check the box to be a Christian or to call yourself a Christian, to have the identity marker of Christian. Also, don't make me say wilder things. It'll come, okay? This is my first day as part of the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency, okay? There'll be more things that I have to say, but I'm just dipping a toe in, okay? I'm dipping a toe in the order. So here are the 3 markers of Christian identity for my desert brother. The first is that the creator of the universe incarnated as Christ and died and was resurrected. He says this is the easiest one. The other 2 are harder than that one. Interesting. Number 2, the Old Testament deity did questionable things and also created the universe. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. Number 3, you have to believe that murderous Saul, aka St. Paul, murderous Saul is not a psyop. I thought this was really interesting. And I thought it was interesting because that number 1, that you have to believe the creator of the universe incarnated as Christ and died and was resurrected. That's the easy one. Because I feel like a lot of people I'll talk to are like, resurrection, that's ridiculous. But then it's like the Old Testament deity did questionable things and also created the universe. And you go, well, I mean, if you actually like read the book, there are some things that happen. You go, this is in the book? This is in the big book. It's like, yeah, this is in the big book. And then you have the pastors that never preach from those chapters or even those books. And it's like, why don't you preach from that book? You're like, well, I don't want to deal with that scroll. You're like, okay, well, I'm reading the scroll and I don't know what to do with the scroll. If you're not preaching about the scroll, then I really have no idea what to do about the scroll. And if you're telling me that you're not preaching about the scroll because you don't know what to do about the scroll, if you don't know what to do about the scroll, then how in the world am I ever going to know what to do about the scroll? And, it's interesting because, I mean, so much of this for me comes from, what time is it? We'll do this in the future because I want to talk more about the overlap. But the Old Testament deity doing questionable things, which are in the book, there are questionable things in the book. I think for me that kind of dissolved when I understood what the Bible is, in the sense that the Bible comes out of this place that I call the overlap, where there's earth and there's heaven, and then in that the Venn diagram has a center, which is the overlap. And so like the Bible, like Christ, is like fully human and fully divine. And the overlap is a really strange place. And it's like, I'm not sure that, at least for me, it's like until I understood how the Bible was written, where it came from, I couldn't deal with the words or the stories, because it was like, how did this story get here? How did these words get here? And then I began to understand the fully humanness and the fully divineness of the Bible, and I was like, oh, so there's just as much human stuff in here as like divine stuff. And that doesn't solve anything as much as it brings on a whole host of new questions. And then you think about like ancient tribal warfare and the belief that like the gods were in the sky above them fighting and clashing. And so if one tribe killed the other tribe, then that the opposing deity was then defeated. But that required like the full and complete defeat of the tribe. But then you go like, well, what does it mean to hear from God and for God to say like, go remove these tribes from a promised land? And like, I think those are like the best questions to ask. Like those are the questions that we should be talking about, and we don't talk about them enough. And I also think like, and to be honest, for me, like spiral dynamics also had a part to play in my understanding of this, with like sort of this kind of like slow growing expansion of consciousness. Because it's like in the old days, like girls would get married at 13 years old, and I don't want the daughter I don't have but hope to have to get married at 13 years old. So like, I'm glad that, you know, we push that date further into the future as a society. But you think about like an eye for an eye, and you go like, that's barbaric. And all I'm doing now, this is actually an old Rob Bell riff. Like, that's barbaric, an eye for an eye. And you go, well, if you're going to kill the person, taking their eye is actually quite a lot of mercy. And you go, huh, I never thought about that. Like, no, you don't get to slaughter this person because they wronged you. You only get to take their eye. And it's like, well, that's like a step in the right direction. And so the argument is that God is like slowly growing humans. I go, huh, I do see that across the scriptures. I do see these barbarians that slowly become a little more civilized. Although barbarian and civilized, that's the wrong metaphor. But yeah, it's like this slow, trustworthy growth. And then it's like, okay, well, what does God want to do in my life? What kind of steps do I need to take today to like slowly grow more and more in the path that God has for me? So I'm kind of circling around. I'm not going directly head on, but I wouldn't be opposed to exploring that in a future session of exploring. And then Murderous Saul is not a psyop. That's interesting. I got a feeling that's got stuff to do with Gnosticism. That's my guess. Because there's a lot of like Gnostic stuff that is kind of churning around that same time period, and then it's like, well, which one's the real thing? Why isn't this gospel in the book, but this gospel is in the book? And then it goes back to that overlap of the divine and the human. And I mean, for me, what was most helpful was like N.T. Wright's new perspective on Paul, Because I feel like a lot of our language language is weird. You like certain words begin to mean things, and then the new meaning of the word gets like cement gets poured on it, and then a whole generation grows up with a new meaning, and they never go back to learn the old meaning, and then time goes on, and you forget what anything was about. And like that's with anything, really. Even we see that now with democracy. We're like, democracy in some circles of the internet is like a dirty word. And you're like, well, how did that happen? And you can watch the rise and the fall and how the meaning of the word shifts. Like you can see that. But yeah, like I really like Paul. I don't exactly know what's meant by a psyop, but certainly there is a sense that, like, whatever happens with Jesus, Paul is central. He gets a whole lot of written time in the book, and you're going to have to deal with Paul, you know? Like, you can be like, oh, yeah, I'm all in a resurrection. And you're like, another letter from Paul, another letter from Paul, another letter from Paul. And it's weird because, like, when you open your Bible, like, the order that the letters are in they're not even chronological. So you don't, like, if you read the orders chronologically, if you read the letters in a chronological order, then you can even see, like, you can see Paul working out his thinking. And you go, oh, in this letter he said this. In this letter he said something a little bit different. It's almost like he was finding language to describe what in the world had taken place. And by the time you get to, like, the letter to the Romans, you're like, oh, he found his language. Yeah, he's got the language. This is the language. But when you hit Romans after Acts, it's a lot. It's a lot. But the thing that was so funny to me about this whole, like, Christian identity thing was I kind of wanted to, like, ask my desert brother, like, why do you want to be a Christian? Which maybe that's a weird question to ask, but I'm kind of like, just be a disciple of Jesus. Like, just follow Jesus. Like, it doesn't matter what people call you. And, like, all of these, like, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to deal with the Old Testament deity. You're going to have to deal with Paul. But, like, the disciples of Jesus, they just followed Jesus. Like, they didn't have it all figured out. None of them even knew Paul. Now, they would know Paul, and they would argue with Paul. And that's what we have to do. We have to come to know Paul. We have to argue with Paul. But, like, that's what the disciples had to do. And, I mean, the disciples, they didn't really know that much. They just kind of, like, met this Jesus guy and, like, were drawn in by the mystery. And they just kept following the mystery. And then at some point, they trusted, but, like, they didn't even trust after the resurrection. They were still like, I don't know, dude, can I see the holes in your body? He's like, sure, here's a hole in my body. I'm like, huh. And so for me, I'm always like, I don't know. The Christian identity marker, I don't think is the most important thing. I think the most important thing is, like, being a disciple and, like, following Jesus, and that's going to take you places, and it's going to be mysterious, but it's also going to be, like, the adventure of a lifetime. Yeah, I wanted to just say a quick prayer for my brother in the desert because he's in the cave fighting lions. So, Lord, I pray you would close the mouths of the lions because you are the one who closes lion mouths. Amen. Okay, now we can get to the show. What is going on here? Oh, there are things happening. I can't even. Ooh, what we got here? I think it is a mistake to use the word Bible as an undisclosed or unexamined technical term to mean something like monolithic totality that unambiguously constitutes the revelation of God. Did I say monolithic totality that unambiguously constitutes the revelation of God? Because I don't remember using any of those words. I said the Bible is divine and human, like Christ is divine and human. Oh, here we go. Your notion of the overlap is flirting with this kind of pernicious biblicism in my view. You know, the first time CW and I ever spoke on the phone, I think we talked for 3 hours. And we talked about this very thing. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I argued, and I still argue, and I argue with other people in the TLC about this. It's not just CW and I. That there's this like literal biblicism known as fundamentalism, which is what I grew up in. And then I deconstructed, that's here, and I lived in deconstruction land for a while, and everything was symbolic. And then a year ago, eventually I just gave up on God and just walked off into the symbols and just read like Shakespeare and learned about science and listened to lots of Huberman while reading James Joyce. It was great. Really fun time. And then like a year ago, this other thing happened where I was like, no, it's all literal. It is all literal. Like the fundamentalists are wrong, but there's a baby in that bathwater that has to be carried through deconstruction into this other space. The only word I've heard, Free Rillian told me it should be called figural, because he read this book that Skank gave him about figural. And I like the word figural, but I haven't read the book, so I don't know how they use the word figural. And so essentially I'm saying that there is wait, where was I? We're taking swings. Nope. Here. There's a literal, there's a symbolic, and there's a literal after on the other side of symbolic. That's what I am arguing for. And CW disagrees, but that's great because he might be right. I mean, I don't know that I'm right. I am very open to CW being right about, I guess, everything. I hope not everything, but maybe. Man, what we got? Peugeot ? Literally versus literary. That's an interesting distinction, because I kind of like that, Rob. I don't like a lot of the comments that you've posted in the chat, but I kind of like this one, because there is a sense of mythicness. Because like for me, I'm like, there was a dude that lived the Noah story. I don't know if his name was Noah, but there was a guy that built an ark. Like, I'm all in on a human being who built the ark. I don't know if his name was Noah or not. The name Noah may have been added as the myth grew, but I'm 100% in on a literal human building the ark. Which is like, yeah, it is mythic. And I think if you strip all of the literalness from myths, then you just kind of have like cute stories that don't have any teeth to them. And myths have teeth. You read a myth and it bites into you and it just hangs on. It's like a dog that's got a chunk of your skin. And sometimes you got to bleed for a while before the myth will let go. It sounds like Figaro, the music term. I know nothing about music. Literary is good. Skeptics hate reading. Okay, here we go. The reality of God and the locus of divine authority cannot be guaranteed by the pedigree or provenance of Scripture. It is quite the other way round, in fact, if anything. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, like, there is the reality of God, and then there were human beings who encountered God. They had this strange, mysterious encounter with God that resulted in them partnering with the Spirit of God to write things down. But even the writing takes place way longer after the storytelling. Like, my understanding of the Bible is that it all operates on like oral authority. So like Moses tells somebody, and that is the authority of Moses. It carries the authority of Moses. And Moses has authority because Moses has spoken to God. That's the only place that authority comes from, is from God. And when we read the Bible, it points us that direction. The locus of divine authority cannot be guaranteed. Yeah, so I agree with that. Authority comes from God. Like, when I was in seminary, my professor would say that there are, like, it's a three-legged stool. It's Scripture, tradition, and the Spirit. And like, you use those three things to determine reality. But even all three of those come from the reality of God. So yeah, I agree with CW. CW is pointing me in the right way. What's this now? We'll get you on a brevered child's drip. and you'll make a full recovery. Genre and authorial intent. Yeah. I'm all for the intent of the author. The death of the author didn't kill me. I think it's nonsense. She likes oral authority. First pope was a dentist. Yeah. Okay. Troll of the week, folks. What? Okay. We got 10 minutes, so let's get after it. Nobody's in the airlock, so let's share the screen.
And how they're going to resonate with each other.
So this is basically my introductory slide. And those of you who watch my channel regularly, this is sort of my format. I actually do my sermons in a similar format. So an argument for the reality of God based on the right treatment of persons. Mm-hmm. And this is within some work towards an understanding of this term person, an understanding of this word real, which is really difficult.
Nice pun.
Understanding of nature that both deals respectfully with kind of an ancient perspective and a modern perspective.
Right.
And understanding of this word God. Now, if there's a fudgier word, then boy, I say things and I think I'm going to get in so much trouble saying this, but it's the truth. The word God is so difficult.
Yes.
And when I watch these debates,
if anybody wants to put in their definition of the word God in the chat, that's something I would love to highlight. So if you want to go after defining God, go for it.
On the internet, and actually when I watch it play out in the Christian church or the conversations with people between believers and unbelievers, or Christians and non-Christians, or theists and atheists, I just think we're using this word in ways that we're just treating it far too lightly than we ought.
I agree. And I think the way you're formulating this is a good way to start. Not treating it as a standalone term, but seeing it bound up with these other three contentious terms. So, and I think one thing I agree with right off the bat is that they should be treated as a network together. And they're all problematic, but they're not independently problematic. They're problematic in ways that intersect and influence each other. So I agree right away with that should be how we're formulating the problem. I disagree, and I think you are saying it too, with people who simply, okay, we're going to have a debate on the existence of God, and then they just start running with sort of intuitive or commonsensical or sort of folk psychological notions of these terms. And I find all of that deeply problematic. So I like the way you set up the arena we're going to play in. I think I want to stick to that. Trying to keep these four things talking to each other in a deep way. I think it's very important.
Cool.
Okay, it's 5:31 a.m., which means the Chris Howard Show is either starting or about to start. We'll be back here Thursday morning, 4:30 a.m. Wisconsin time. Thanks so much. I don't contend. I play with my food like a cat.